Let's go. Line number 2. Good afternoon, Dave. Callahan, you're on the air.
And how are you today, sir?
Doing fine, Dave. You?
Good. I was just listening away there, and I guess you hadn't heard back from that gutless tool. It just struck me pretty funny that he would email you, get back to him, and he just didn't have the guts to get back to you.
No, and I mean, listen, I'm only winding them up. I don't care, right?
That's all right, but it's number one. I got the message, sir. Anyway, the reason I've called in today, I'm affected, I guess, like just about everybody else on the island in a number of ways, in a little different way, as far as the fuel shortages and the fuel condition in this province right now.
Yeah.
Some of it caused, no doubt, by transmission and generation problems, I suppose, as far as the electrical was concerned. But it's not all been caused as a result of that. And yesterday I heard of some atrocious activity, which I really don't understand. If it's in fact that it took place, I think it should be looked at. But there were somebody yesterday on the open line. I was actually in the process. I was clearing some snow. I was in a loader at the time when I heard it. And somebody had been gouging on the price above and beyond the regular price of a liter of gas to the tune of like $1.49 extra on a liter.
Yeah, someone was charged at $2.79, we were told, out in Conception Bay North.
Well, if that is in fact a fact, I don't know how, because it flies in the face, first of all, of legislation. Now, probably able to be done, because I don't know how much policing of that actually takes place or how much watching of it takes place, but I mean, fellows like George Murphy, who usually report on what the maximum allowable price is, and that's based on Platts pricing and Brent crude pricing and legislation about fuel regulation in this province. I don't know how that occurs, but if it did, it's one of the lowest moves I've ever heard tell of in my life, to gouge somebody in a time of need. Like, I own 2 different businesses that are linked to fuel. I have a service station, which, by the way, there are service stations around me out of fuel, and my price hasn't changed not one bit, and it will not. It's the same as it was before fuel was short. It'll be the same as whatever the province says that I have to sell it for, and that's point blank.
Well, yeah, the maximum price currently, I think, is $1.37. I'm just trying to recall from yesterday when I looked at the data. Yep. So $1.37, and if you go over that, if you keep your receipt, you report to the Petroleum Pricing Office, they will investigate, and the person or the operation that committed what is a particular gouge and a crime, they'll be prosecuted for it, and so they should. I found out who was doing it. I asked someone who I knew in the area to go by and check the prices, and very shortly after it was being reported, the price had been dropped once again. That's my understanding, because I was happy to out that person on the air, because I think that's just absolutely pathetic. We know that people are in business to make money. They're not there to do you any favors, but you have to play the game fair. If there's a maximum you can charge, it's a maximum. I don't care if you got the market by the, I was going to say short and curly's, but you know what I mean. So yeah. You got to play fair. So
certainly, I mean, it's a situation whereby I think even ethically as an operator, you sit down and say to yourself, why would I even want to be recognized for doing something like that? I mean, you don't keep a good name in business by the likes of that activity. But problem now with fuel also in this province is not just linked to the ability to move it around within the province. Some of it has to do with the ability for ships and whatnot to get into the province because of ice clearing and because of our lack of our breakers and whatnot in the area. Corner Brook is full right now, and they're down on their supplies that they could take into the curling depot.
Yeah.
For a very simple reason. They can't get in there.
Yeah.
So now we've got a problem that's not just a provincial government or a NALCOR problem. This is a problem that we've got to say that we've been kind of left to somebody else's benefit, I suppose, in terms of ice clearing and ice breaking in our province.
Yeah.
That stops the flow of the bigger ships, the flow of the smaller ships that do coastal drops. And it's leading to a crisis.
Well, once again, we talk about preparedness and, determining when is a good time or not to have things out for repairs, whether they be generators or turbines or otherwise.
Yeah,
and then we've got to put up with icebreakers in for a refit? Like, what? I mean, Minister Nick McGraw says, and I'm changing gears here because we're on the same theme anyway. We're saying it's unusual time of year to have that much ice. Well, come on, man. It's up in the North Atlantic, the Labrador Current. It might be unusual, but can we not prepare for worst case scenario stuff? We have Coast Guard has icebreakers in for refit. Do they need someone who's got a firm grip on potential weather patterns to help them out with this kind of scheduling? Because that just sounds outlandish to me.
Yeah, and it also makes you question then, of course, the capability of the upper echelon. They're in the positions that they're in to be in a somewhat, I guess, an authoritative way that they're being forecasting these things and being proactive in terms of what is the protocol, the best case scenario should this happen. Well, if Holyrood went down, I guess the best case scenario is to have another means to start, throw the switch and throw another generator online immediately. Well, if that's not even feasible, and I don't know how much sense it makes anymore, maybe something, and I'm going to get right to the cut to the chase on it. I personally have been an advocate for a long time of fracking, as most people know. And in our area, I want to see us to go out, tap the natural gas. I've got a mega project in mind that I know that it can work, and I've looked at and I've solicited the opinion of some pretty learned people. But the ability now to go from natural gas to electric in a conversion plant, which is basically almost like the FSOPs, the floating platform, which I'm looking at trying to get as a project into Stephenville, into Port Harmon. That would need legislative help in terms of the fact that, like everywhere else that natural gas exists, we're going to need to frack. Well, that being said, it happens everywhere else, and I see this as a viable alternative now, not only for the extra power that we need, but also as an alternative use of what is sitting right now as an untapped resource, not only for this province, but in particular for the western region of this province.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a polarizing conversation. It already has been. It's only going to heighten when the province starts to revisit it formally. I mean, there's lots of gas offshore. The opportunity for gas production is obvious, and it's there. Yeah. There's a lot of problems with gas so far as you can't force the producer to sell it here. Well, I suppose we can make all sorts of concessions in royalties and super royalties and the like to encourage them to use this market. We can have long-term purchase power agreements or power purchase agreements that secure a reasonable price so that it's, it makes them want to bring it ashore as opposed to sell it to the highest bidder, which is currently the closest one would be in the EU. So gas is tricky. We don't even have a natural gas royalty regime here. It's time for the government to start putting one foot in front of the other. Start doing things bit by bit. Put the natural gas royalty regime in place so that people have some idea of what it's going to take and what the ledger will look like if we go to produce gas. We're already re-injecting it out. There's all kinds of gas already untapped. So is it going to happen? Of course it is. Are we going to frack on the West Coast? Absolutely we are. Are we going to produce gas offshore? Of course we are. And this is all going to happen whether people like it or not. There's a lot of strong opponents to it, but it's going to happen. There's no doubt in my mind. Dave, I got to take another call before the break, but I always appreciate you chiming in. And Happy New Year to you, brother. Stay in touch.
Same thing to you and everybody listening.
Okay, buddy.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.